You guys aren't going to believe this, but he's actually worse than Earthrise Starscream. Welcome back to the show, it's Gay for May, and today we're finally taking a look at one of the first figures off my 2022 hit list. Studio Series 86 Coronation Starscream is a figure that I've already been fairly critical of even before its release, because although reissues are usually a good idea, repurposing the Earthrise figure as a Studio Series screen-accurate release is
bad comedy.
But Starscream is my favorite Transformers character as well, and this is also the first Starscream review on the channel, so that's something to celebrate. But let's get into this review. Firstly, I'm a big fan of the new box changes. Getting a full art box is preferable to a windowed package, I think. And I know some people disagree, but some people also don't know what they want. I know what you want. Coronation Starscream is a nearly straight repacking of Earthrise Starscream, but includes a myriad of new accessories to justify a leader price point. I kind of like this concept of leader class being Voyagers with stuff, but they never seem quite as jam-packed as they were in Siege. Now, I want to make it clear that generally, I never used to have a big problem with this mold. I took it as an upscaled replacement for the old Classics figure, which I'm pretty sure everyone remembers fondly. There's like 1,000 of them, by the way. But I understand the ire for this toy when in direct comparison to Siege Starscream. There's way too many confusing, if not inexcusable concessions made to Earthrise Starscream, whether it's the lack of articulation in his hands and waist, or the gappy hollowness found all over his body. The Siege figure really seems to get everything right that Earthrise gets wrong. He's more articulated. He might be a shell former, but his transformation has some interesting moves in it, and he just has this dynamic look that I would consider anime-esque. I have also heard some complaints about the Earthrise jet mode being inaccurate, and yeah, it definitely seems exaggerated, especially in the nose portion. And weirdly, a change that they made to Coronation Starscream from the previous version is to remove the striping on the tail fins, only to instead paint in these two little panels on his back. So then, aside from a couple of smaller paint differences and the newly molded hands on the Studio Series version, the figures are basically identical. So I suppose the plus side of having both is definitively knowing which to leave in jet mode and which to leave in robot mode. But I find myself wishing that they could have gone the extra mile. I've stated before that I don't think Earthrise Starscream is a good fit for the Studio Series line. I think he's too detailed, and he looks too much like classic Starscream for this to work. In a perfect world, we'd have a brand new mold or a remold taking its foundations from Siege and creating this superior Earth-based Starscream figure. Though I would have at least settled for a new color scheme. If they were so bold, they could have literally given us dead Starscream, portraying his final moments, or maybe even just animation-inspired colors like those Walmart figures from a while back. But alas, all we get are these new accessories, allowing you to recreate the iconic coronation scene from the original movie. Big purple shoulder pads and a large sweeping cape can be mounted to Starscream, as well as his glorious golden crown set to adorn his noble head. And his classic null ray blasters have been swapped out for a revised pair that attaches directly to the shoulder pads. But its standout accessory has to be the new Decepticon throne. An impressive hunk of purple plastic for the leader of the Decepticons to issue his commands from, or to take a cute little nap in. And also doubles as a way to keep your other accessories tidy. A very tempting package indeed. But is it enough to rescue the often maligned Earthrise Starscream mold? You might not believe this, but the new parts are actually working against Coronation Starscream. Well, let's start with the hands, which, as I've mentioned, have been remolded to include moving fingers. Articulated fingers are sort of Hasbro's seal of quality now, since they tend to reserve it only for the best figures. So there's one thing, they're gaslighting you into thinking this is a better toy. They're not gaslighting you, they're lying to you. But think about this logically. What is the point of remolding Starscream's hands when he doesn't include anything to hold? I guess he could hold his crown, but he himself doesn't typically wield any handheld weapons. Yeah, I know he holds Megatron, but that's not in this scene, okay? And in reality, this change merely draws attention to the already existing complaint that he doesn't have wrist articulation. And given the incredible things done with Studio Series Wreck-Gar and Siege Starscream, I would have hoped there was a way to make it happen. But that's not all. Even more than that, what really bugs me about this figure is how it interacts with the chair. A chair is meant to be sat in, but they chose to include it with a figure that has this little plate stuck to his ass, so when he sits down, he looks like he's hovering over it the same way your mom does at a truck stop bathroom. Beyond that, to get his legs bent into position, you have to flip up his little skirt flap, and now he's exposing himself like he's in a Sharon Stone movie. I don't want to turn this into a Siege slobberfest because he has a hard time sitting in the chair too, but how the fuck do you go from the perfect hip design to this? Not only would it have been smarter, it would have looked so much better. I think they did this on purpose. Because the crown doesn't even fit on Siege Screamer's head either. Is there a secret war happening behind the scenes at Hasbro over who Starscream is the superior mold? I have half a mind just to say it's fucking core Starscream at this point and just be done with it all. Studio Series 86 Coronation Starscream is kind of like being invited to a cookout where all the sides are amazing, but the chicken is so dry. But it's worse than that, because all the delicious sides are only making you crave moist, mouth-watering chicken more and more. All of the dumb decisions that hold Earthrise Starscream back are just exacerbated by the new parts and accessories. And that really makes it seem that this is a quick and lazy set designed to milk nostalgia bucks from boomer fans and Starscream simps. All of this new stuff is cool, but you can't save a mediocre figure by dumping a bunch of accessories on it and pretending it's something that it's not. When so many other great figures came out of this line, this cheap, half-assed set feels like an insult to the Studio Series title. This man isn't a king, he's the jester. He's a charlatan. This isn't the Studio Series Starscream we deserve. This isn't the Studio Series Starscream deserves. And for that reason, honestly, I don't think it's worth it. But at the end of the day, the joke's really on me, because I still paid for the shit. If you've got a taste for Studio Series 86, I think you'll find my last Studio Series review particularly appetizing. But anyway, that's just my opinions. Please leave yours in the comments below. Bye bye.